Hey you guys, it's MJ from I UNPLUG. How are you? I want to talk about living the intuition. And we know that like talking about intuition is like a thing in spiritual circles, manifestation circles, conscious circles. I mean, heck, you hear about intuition in various worlds. At the same time, I'm aware that there are worlds that really don't talk like this, and there are worlds that don't talk about intuition at all. So there's ways of, again, describing, putting a word to this. And I mean, intuition translates itself as the inner teacher. And the way we locate the inner teacher is actually, I would say, an inner discerning, and an inner knowing. And the inner knowing is an aspect of the senses. So we look at our physical eyes and ears and taste and touch and whatever the heck the five senses are, right? And that those five senses on the external plane are ultimately and can be internalized. So, reflected back into us. And in a way they all do work together as far as our ability to enjoy and take pleasure in this life. And there's a really interesting conflicted teaching as far as a lot of our mainstream world dominant organized religions go, is that there's a real denial of joy and pleasure, and it's a huge distortion in the teachings in some of the sect teachings of Christianity and or Catholicism. I can only really speak to Catholicism as I grew up in a Catholic church. And so, and I mean, we look over in Muslim cultures, and we look at how women in particular haven't really had voices on a political and a kind of leadership scale. And there's a there's a thread there that has a very direct connection to our bodies and our ability to feel our bodies, but not in conflict, not in judgment, not in a power play. So because we've become so disconnected from the body, that disconnection from our emotionality, our waterways, has spun out these programs, i.e., like male domination, like the body shaming. And the body shaming, I would say, is one of the most widespread malalignments, distortions, and undercurrents of most of our physical diseases, most of our underlying and or grossly manifesting physical dis-ease, is this ultimate disconnection, which is ultimately the manifestation of all icky distortion. But this disconnection, and then above the disconnect is shame and guilt, which is why we would observe ourselves, apparently so, in these patterns of punishment, blame and attack. It's like everybody's just constantly on edge because we're all wounded, deeply so, and yet we're pretending to not be wounded. And yet even before we can access that wound, there's all of this like uncomfortable shame and guilt emotion that we essentially just need to work through it, through consciousness, through the light of our awareness, with as much compassion and forgiveness that one can muster for the self. I do talk about it in the tribe, but also in the guidebook. Like, shame and guilt was like a huge, it was like an ongoing cycle, but in the height of like clearing out the shame and guilt from within my vessel, it was for sure like a 4 or 5 day process. It wasn't like one storm. it was just a series of storms, and I'm talking like days on end of just feeling like, one, wanting to bite people's heads off, like just kind of hating on the world, but then feeling my whole body is like thick with this tar type of energy and this almost like vomit. It's so pretty, isn't it? Like this vomity like sensation just moving through me, and like I would just sit there being like, this is shame. This is guilt. This is like an accumulated, and you can see it sometimes in your own consciousness field. You can see these energies leaving you. The biggest thing in my practice, and increasingly so, but certainly like as the new default, it's just the love vibrashe. Like and I'm playing around with it even more so now, or not even more so, just as much as ever, as far as like how to really love the cells of our bodies, how to practice self-healing in the moment, literally not taking on any external negative projection of anything whatsoever. And I suppose, I know at some point, yes, we can do this with mainstream media. My awareness as somebody offering guidance or somebody offering energy is that were so convoluted that some sort of rather radical processes is the quickest way to cut through all the bullshit and rise up. So one, like being fairly solitary for a while, if that's doable. Two, like clean out the TV and the mainstream media, and like be mega more diligent with what we're consuming and what's on in the background. Even radio, like I don't I don't listen to the radio anymore, don't listen to TV, haven't got a clue like what movies are out or who the new like X Factor so and so is. But I gotta say, like, there's so much space and like liberation vibrashe that, well, and the more detached I become from that world, the more weird it is. Like it's weird to me that like people sit around talking about these people on TV. People sit around their own homes and talk about so and so on that show and so, and like I'm aware that we're talking about a fake reality. Like we're talking about a constructed reality that, and then the more you dig into like different rabbit holes or different conspiracy theories, you see that like a lot of the Hollywood and music industries were actually puppet industries designed by different government bodies and an agenda of mind control, like very really. And those of us on this awakening path or whatever, this is just a path of being a normal, natural human. Breaking through and seeing through those veils was early on, but because there's those polarities of like, you're a conspiracy theorist and like, well, or this is just grounded in some truth. So there's a lot of like smoke and mirror and like ridicule and pointing fingers and blaming, and hence yesterday's share about like not just going in for the like jugular kind of thing, like not just jumping on the crowd group pack mentality bandwagon and, oh yeah, so and so's a horrible blah 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 blah. None of us are like, there's not one person to blame. There's probably not even like one collective. There's just no one to blame, yo. This whole sovereignty, be the creator, manifest your dream life, all of it is truly in the self. I'm not projecting out the same world that you're projecting out. Your house, I imagine, looks different than my house. The day-to-day activities probably look different. It's just one of the biggest shifts now versus like, I don't know, 20 years ago was that we're now communicating on these platforms. We all have these devices to be like, hey, what's up, bud? What's happening? What's going on? We didn't have that before. So someone like me even 20 years ago was just like alone in her room, like wondering about stuff, and then would like go to a party or like go into the world and then be pointed and laughed at because her ideas were so ridiculous. It didn't happen all the time. It happened sometimes. So so we have that, and for some reason that's just making me think of how like juicy it is as a really like loving and yet simple platform of just like sharing stories. But like stories we wouldn't necessarily tell um to like be cool. You know what I'm saying? It's like just our stories. Because here's the thing of like our humanness and like the kind of sickly aspect of our culture of idol worship. Of okay, I'll talk about myself because it's my channel. But like this part of this recognition for me was like basically being like a really sad kid, like a really like issues, lots of suicidal, depressive, anorexia, bulimia, like but trying to be perfect in the world, like trying to be a good girl, but like it every night kind of going home from school and like trying to slit my wrists sort of thing. Not every night. It wasn't that traumatic. But I was in trauma. I was like deeply already like I remember I have vivid memories of being 8 years old when the like mainstream media distortion started to like fuck with my purity and innocence. and and then like high school was just about fitting in and trying to like push down the like instead of throwing it up, like try to just hide the bulimia, and like you have moments of like trying to tell people. But I actually don't know where this story was going now, but I'll just carry on. Stories. It is about stories, isn't it? And how we oh yeah, back in the day, and I would tell these stories. And so after the high school trauma years, the 20s, like and then I have these fucking awakenings which spack me out even more hardcore, i.e. no hope of me fitting back into like an academic institution after having these awakenings, because it was just too like distortion, like and you guys would understand this, but when we have those awakenings and then we go back into a reality and we're just like Twilight Zone vibes, right? Like being in institutionalization, I just found it actually like energetically restrictive. And so I leave. I end up back in institution in my early 20s to study acting. And like seriously, put that loosely around. Like okay, so now I'm aware of the whole acting business as well, and I'm just like, it makes so much sense. But so my 20s were mostly spent just running, and now I can sort of symbolically understand energy in such a way is that in my story, you know, because there was such trauma and such pain in my field, I just ran. I fucking ran to England, and then I ran into partying, drugs and alcohol, and then ran into like sexual promiscuity just to be like, yeah, I can't deal with life. And it would just end up, and to me, partying was a relief from fucking suicidal thoughts, right? Partying was a relief from hating on myself to the point of like throwing up all the food I was eating. So partying was like a bit of a sweet relief. But then get to 30, and then so the partying was going to kill me anyway, so I start doing the yoga when I'm like 25, I think, maybe 26. That hooks in right away. I start getting teaching gigs right away somehow. And then that started taking over, being like, I think this is like more aligned with me than the acting. But then I had all these weird pressures around the acting, but literally was killing myself. So it was like, well, the yoga feels better, it aligns with the truth of my spirit, even though the world or like my mom or like these people might want me to do this or do that. I deep in my heart was like, I just want life to be easy, like I just want to be able to show up and share this lovely practice with people, you know. So I did. And then I remember like having the sit down conversation with my mom about like, I'm not gonna do, hi, I feel weird doing the groceries sometimes. It feels like Twilight Zone. Yeah. So Karen, randomly, it's so funny that you mentioned that, because when I was saying the words about this, I had a very direct like flash of insight around another layer as to why we feel uncomfortable in those buildings, i.e., schools. What did you say? Grocery store. What was another one? Probably like hospitals. university, even like, I'm sure some university buildings are better than others, but like organized institutions, right? So the buildings, exactly. So this is something I learned in my actual training, energy training, and sacred. I did a course on sacred geometry, and this is where it all gets a little bit like web like interwoven, multi-layered, systematized matrix world. But are these buildings, which were constructed to enslave us, just just throwing that out there, schools, we have them in the UK, like Tesco's, so the big grocery stores. Oh yeah, you just mentioned it. A lot of court buildings. Did I say it already? Hospitals. Uh, Apparently, even some academic institutions. So these buildings are built with unsacred geometry. A lot of them. So a lot of the buildings, churches, mosques, the way they're actually constructed, these buildings are designed to harness energy. What's the other one that I learned about? In the UK, you don't have them as much in America, but in the UK we have these things called roundabouts, and they basically, instead of like a four-way stop sign, you go round the roundabout, and I guess the idea is that it kind of keeps the flow of traffic moving. But even roundabouts, I'm pretty gosh darn sure those are energy harnesser things. Those are energy traps, right? People get caught on a roundabout and just keep going round and round. Like the reincarnation grid, as far as like grocery stores, a hidden observer, yeah. Those would be the big power players in your country. Walmart, Meyer, never heard of it. The fog in the air. Yeah, if you go in there, so this is like a little trick that I do for my own self in my consciousness, is like, and I have to kind of remind myself still, but I do it most of the time because I can feel the fog even just entering like the energy space of those buildings. And so I'll like, first of all, like do a mini meditation of I am the Jedi force of all life. And then I imagine having humongous angel wings. Because here's the thing, my friends. This is what I started to realize, hence why church buildings being the idol. Yeah, idol for sure. The buildings are actually used to like dominate. Like think about how churches are like over a landscape often, especially in the latter, like the more insidious some of this convoluted programming become, the more I would say unsacred and also domineering a lot of the churches started to be built, to really dominate the horizon, right? So they're unsacred. When it comes to our consumerist, they're mass produced free of charge. Ooh, tell me more about that. I lost. Oh, churches are? Well, anything created from the those kind of more parasitic, and the new word I've got here is the demiurge, the churches. Yeah, the demiurge, that those sort of like divide and conquer energy tactic forces, just, yes, I drive around a circle thingy every day. So yeah, be aware of that. And again, these are not things, I'm not intending to fearmonger here and be like, you don't ever go into a hospital again, they're shit. It's not, this is like pretty subtle energy stuff, but it's good to be aware of it the more aware we become so that we can kind of be responsible, right? So it's not like although the truth of it being like, no, I just like, I don't want to shop in those places. I don't want to shop. I don't want to give any of my energy or time really into the companies that are stealing from people or lying or being dicks to the planet. It's like, guys, stop doing that. It's just that we're in this kind of shifty space, and I kind of project my vision into community where there's like a lovely organic permaculture farm like on site where I just like live and eat there, and everyone's in a community together, and Yeah. Utopia. um anyway, so going back to why with the angel wings before going to the shops? Well, if you noticed, dear consumer, oftentimes, and this is what was happening to me before I did this course, and then I was like, ah. So I'd have like a list, as many of us do. You know, you go into a shop and you're like, all I need to buy is coffee. All I need to buy is coffee. 20 minutes later, two bags of shopping. Like, and then getting back in my car and being like, why did I buy all this? Like, how did that happen when I really just came in for coffee? And this is all part of the clever plan. It's that these unsacred buildings like actually dumb us down. I know, well, single, not a massive foodie, you know. My go-to shopping is like some kind of alternative milk, like oat milk, or almond, or coconut. Some fruit and veg loosely packed because we don't want to waste more packaging than there already is. So like whatever veg that I can buy, usually tomatoes, potatoes, broccoli, depending on what shop I go to. And then like nuts, basically. Like nuts and fruit, maybe some oats. I just don't have like, there's not a huge amount to eat, is there? Yeah, there is, for sure. Well, Rochelle, but like straight up, like that's why when she said that, I'm like, oh my gee. But I mean, there's also there's psychological. Churches have secret chambers. I'm sure they do. Straight up, Tech Victor. Okay, regarding churches, my whole life, there is an element of that. My whole life, like my mom has stories of me from when I was a little kid. I would like start getting the heebies. I like, again, little enough to not fucking know what you're doing. But we would be in some town, someplace, and yeah, and we'd walk by a church, and my mom said I would often start like having these like these like fits around, or when I'd see men in their full like orthodox what was mom said, Greek Orthodox, or even I think some like Hasidic Jews, like when I'd see people in their like full, not really Hasidic Jews, but like definitely Greek Orthodox, like Catholicism and Anglican, Presbyterian, whenever I'd see the men in their like full dress, and again, this is when I was like super little, I also have very vivid dream memory of like past life, like hardcore painful torture, and I'm pretty sure it's all connected. So, you know, there's reason for my total repulsion of some of these structures because of like what happened, the karmic memory of like actually what happened in some of those churches. Anyway, it's love and light, guys. uh, so okay, there's the churches, but back to like, so hospitals, mainstream shops, blah blah blah. They're psychologically, once you're in, so the unsacred geometry one dumbs us down. So it kind of disconnects from some of our kind of broader psychic aspects. Hence, this share is about living intuition. So it's like I'll just naturally be a little less connected to intuition and more in the fluorescent, like unsacred alignment of these buildings. Hence, shopping, dumb down, must buy stuff. Oh, look at that pretty shiny thing. I'll buy that thing. And like, yeah, everyone just becomes like drones. That's why, like, literally, my heart feels so much compassion for people who work in those environments, because it's just, yeah, yeah. It just makes, this is the plight, you guys, is that like it's not just in Tesco's, but like there's just certain people that I'm like, I know that you're too damn fucking good for this job. And like you've hit her times and blah 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 blah, and so we end up anyway. So yeah, those buildings basically siphon energy, and the best way I would say is energetically, one, be aware of it, two, do your angel protective, like my angel wings like and then they close off my field so that when I go in for coffee, I buy coffee. I don't buy six other things. because I don't need 6 other things. And so yeah, basically all of those kind of mainstream institutional buildings are unsacred geometry, and they're kind of designed to dumb us down, numb us out, to conform, to just fit in, to just be part of that enslavement system. So, and every time I get back onto that subject, it's like, guys, let's kind of just remind ourselves, or let MJ remind herself. It is mighty. Thanks, Karen. I imagine us all like in a line, my angel wings, and then somebody else has got like, thinking of mermaid coconut covers, like mermaid, knocking the mermaid, angel wings, mermaid goddess, what's another cool? Dragon! And like I just imagine sort of like in these human-y type looks, but like mythical creature. Oh yes, Karen. And you have to have like the most silken, glittery, gorgeous like mermaid tail, but you can still like walk around. And we can just bring wands. We can just be these mythical creatures and have wands and like go around and like make the buildings more geometrically sound. Now, and this is the off geometry is actually about, I know it's also fun, isn't it? It is about the dumbing of the down of this. So it's like blocks are sacred geometric connection, but never fully. None of this stuff can ever fully do it. That's why we peel back the veils, become more aware, and then anchor in the new awareness so that we can keep, it's like going through fucking invisible walls that you don't even know are invisible until you get close enough, and then you're like, it's another wall, and then you just walk through it. Because again, we create the walls. We create, in a co-creative fashion, we've created these walls of fear. Open sky is the only antidote. Hey, Chica! Someone said something about live stream. Yay! Chantel, nice to see you. You commented on something recently, I feel. And I wasn't sure. Tech Victor, what you're saying, my friend, is the legit juice of life. It's like, go outside. Although it's January, I've been a little bit of a hibernation station right here. Plus editing requires some amount of like creative focus. So, yeah. Hang out outside more. Intend to make more veg. I mean, this is what I'm traversing in heartfelt love for all humans. Mostly is like there is a kind of practical shifting that one entangled in the web of the matrix with all of its various little hooks. As we remove ourselves from it, there's some stuff that has to be taken into account, it would appear. And then most importantly is this inner realm of maintaining our focus and maintaining our sovereignty and staying gosh darn committed to the truth of life, and knowing that we are ultimately creators. I mean, and like this is like just the simples, right? But it's so fucking relevant. It's like, if we're just sitting around watching TV drama all the time, think about it. Our thoughts create our reality. We don't realize that the fact that we're all watching the news every day, except for us cool radical people, because I know you guys are like, man, you don't watch that shit. So you're getting fucking bombarded with fear consciousness programming, and then you turn the TV off and you're dreaming about fear consciousness programming, and then you wonder why you're getting in fights with your family, or you wonder why you're getting in fights with your husbands, and you wonder why you're getting in fights with that girl down the street, because most of, if not 99.9% of the large majority of mainstream media programming, and now increasingly even social media and all of that, is literally just triggering that reactive fight-flight response. And so everyone is kind of walking around in this blaming and attacking pain body, right? And in my experience, no one else was gonna tell me to like get clear. No one else gave a shit whether I was pursuing an acting career or a yoga career and then get into yoga. Nobody fucking cares, because everybody's in their own fucking judgment stew. Everyone's in their own swamp of existence, right? We're all deep in this matrix bubble trying to climb our way out of it, being like, oh my gosh, what is life? Like, what is life? What are we doing here? And we start to penetrate, we start to ask a few of these questions. Even the smartest of the smart people of our entire history, they didn't know either. Like, this whole thing of like looking outside or waiting for somebody to be decisive and waiting someone to make a decision or waiting someone to like tear down all the borders. It's like nobody, even the world leaders, even the spiritual leaders in this planet, they don't know. Nobody really knows what's happening as far as any kind of congregational organized system. I swear to God, you guys, our best hope is just to love ourselves. Like, I'm having a better time, even if everything goes to shit. At least I'll know that I'll have a lot of love for myself, and that I'll have a lot of, I might cry loads, but like, I'll have a lot of love for people, and I'll get organized. I know that I can get organized to be of service. I don't know why I talk like that, but it's fun. Check Victor. Hold on, my friend. Oh, for sure. It's on. It's happening. I believe this is part of why. So I've had sort of visions of it as well. And I mean, more and more people are talking about the bring down of the Vatican. And so part of my vision, it's like using office blocks that have been emptied because everyone's exiting. It is. And because everyone's exiting the matrix, right? Or the system, and realizing the normal 9 to 5 paper pushing jobs are nothing. Like, there's no use, really, in truth. Or are you saying the dismantling? Yeah. And so I see like more just normal people, because the mass exodus is also like a bottoming out of loads of like, so there's plenty of property, like empty properties and like empty land and all this kind of stuff. Like, it's not our anarchy necessarily, it's just legit loving creation, right? Many have, right? Oh, where's the paper going? What's happening? What are any of you actually doing? Or like putting numbers in a thing. I'm like, what is any of this? Like, what is the economy? It's just energy exchanging, but like in a corrupted, false way, making everybody think they have to keep being a slave. Dismantling of the church. Oh yeah. So like all the homeless people get to move into the office blocks that have showers, and cool, fun, creative movements like All to Love can like move into the churches. And although like personally, I wouldn't want to set foot in most churches. I just want to create my own totally harmonious biodome. Biodome in Devon with like a glass. It's I've already had the vision of it, and I'm actually pretty sure even the people who are going to create it are here. And then that's where we can have a party. Boom. And do like healing ceremonies and stuff like that. And just like, boom, boom, just keep bombarding this island called the United Kingdom. Just keep bombarding this island with love, hot vibration. And live in freedom and continue to speak the words of freedom, right? I have this apartment. This apartment works well for me. It's... Anyway, we don't need to talk about MJ's personal circumstances right now. Other than the fact that, like, I just had a vision of me being on a rocket, which symbolizes All to Love. All to Love is the rocket, and I'm just, like, holding on for dear life! Like, create stuff. All right, Tech Victor. It's just an idea. Yes, but that, my friend, that also, it's like we will have also the technology and innovation is already in existence, and then we are the technology. So that point that where like office blocks are opened to keep people warm at night, say, like I'm thinking about places like Toronto or Montreal where it gets hella cold, and often that's when homeless people suffer the most. So it's like in time there'll be these massive structures, and you're right, they won't be powered, but by that point, hells, we should be powering ourselves for free in the world. And I mean, the entire landscape of the world as we know it is shifting. And again, this is not a fearmonger thing, but there is some huge actual earth shifting, which is, I think, part and parcel of the feeling this weird shaking of the ground. Exactly, Tech Victor. Exactly. This is that whole the shifting, right? It's like, how quickly did we just shift through that? We're like, oh, people could live here. Oh, but they won't be powered. Oh, but there'll be new power. Oh, but there just won't be any homeless people. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, because we'll live in a advanced civilization where we look after one another and look after the planet, right? Exactly. Oh, see, this is amazing to me that lighthearted conversation at 4 in the morning, we've already sorted out the world's problems. It only takes a small number of smart people. Or caring people, just compassionate people. It's just been the mish. I think about early awakenings, like walking around, being like, guys, what are we doing? People like, you're just gonna go in the real world, Molly. Hey, my Skies 5D, how are you, my friend? I just want to go, huh, huh, boom, hey. Replicate all the emoji love for you guys. Boom, boom, ha, ha. Well, sort of, but there's still like a whole bunch of crazy awesome shit that will happen with this idea of utopia emerging. But it's utopia in a sense of a vibrational utopia. So it's still existence. There's still waves, ups and downs, and challenges. It's just not corrupted as in blinding people into harvesting their innocence. Absolutely, my Skies 5D. The thing is, as well, my friend, is that you're probably picking up on something very accurate, as in the here now presence. The here now presence, right? But we know that this timeline or this here now presence field of new paradigm, of course everyone's responsible. Of course humanity and the planet is ready for free energy. It's not the present here now reality for probably the large majority, right? So it's not what am I trying to say? The human collective consciousness field isn't ready because we haven't made manifest yet. So we are the responsible ones holding the vision, pioneering the new, so that when it aligns, it aligns. But I will continue, as I'm sure all of you guys will continue, to hold the vision. Oh, interesting. Yeah, hold the vision of the free energy. I'm moving into that in various ways. I want to share more of it with you, but then this is where alignment and manifestation, it really takes on new meaning and new levels, that you're just completely in the voidal unknown, living into wish, taking one step, one breath at a time, and having complete trust and faith. Truth, kindness, intuition, thoughts, the biggest discernment. Oh, I, my kind of initial reactive response was like, oh, it's never the thoughts. Oh, never listen to the thoughts. Never listen to the thought. No, that's juicy. It's becoming ready in me. And we're all, I totally align with that. I think we're all always works in progress. And we just ebb and flow with the progress of it, right? Being ready for free energy. Oh, intuition, thoughts, and like, what's the difference? I love how much love you guys share for one another as well. It makes me feel like we're all holding hands. True. Because it is free. And that's the thing about deservingness and how we all belong here and we all deserve to be here if we are here. And like this weird enslavement system is just like, oh, you guys, you can't do that, right? It's true. It's true. It's like in our heart field, isn't it? All this like stuff that we're throwing out is in our heart field. There it is. Hidden observer. Or truth kindness. My apologies. Um, you asked about like the biggest ish is like discerning between intuition and thought. So typically thought is more constricted or restricted. It's tighter. So when we're like in our present state, intuition is the totality. You're one with all. You align with that open feeling, right, in the presence. And intuition is always like open, loving, soothing, never forceful, never pressurized. It's just like it always feels better. And usually any form of thought is like a loop. Unless it's inspired thought that we move on. Yeah, I mean, thought frequency as a form of creation is usually just a looped frequency until we are seeing it and working with the energetic alignment with the thought. That's my understanding and sort of interpretation of how energy and thought work. They are one and the same, but the energy, the intention is trumps it. Trumps thought. Thought is more contained, right? So therefore thought is closer to form, it's closer to the material world. Hence, us hanging out more in the energy of consciousness versus the thought form of consciousness. Does that make sense, you guys? It's true. Tech Victor. It's true. Like, amounts of dialogue at New Earth Haven, various radical pioneers and people who have been on the plan of bringing this forward. There's been more kind of fearful tactics, fear mongering tactics within that, but there's enough of us. I'm getting a vision. There's enough of us like deep in the layer. We're deep in the layer of the tunnel, you guys. They can't find us, which is kind of true. Hence like these ways of speaking and communicating that are, I would say, such a vastly different vibrashe that if anything, we're just gonna have to keep like mourning, like grieving and releasing whatever we're letting go of the old world. Thanks, Victor. I know. There, I think that's it, you guys. Thank you so much. I'm feeling a bit of an emotion release. There is no they. We're all one. We've all got this. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for being here. I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow morning. And thanks for the pre-orders also, you guys. I appreciate that. It kind of like really keeps me going. The timeline is like... So Francis is working on the written material. I'm just cracking on. I'm moving on to week 5 editing. And yeah, honestly, I just really appreciate those of you who have bought Spirituality Simplified. And actually, as I move through all the editing, I'm really looking forward to sharing this material with you, this piece of work with you guys. So thank you so much.